Iran is a mixed economy with a large public sector. Some 60% of Iran's economy is centrally planned. Iran's economy is characterized by its hydrocarbon, agricultural, and service sectors, in addition to manufacturing and financial services, with over 40 industries directly involved in the Tehran Stock Exchange. The stock exchange has been one of the best-performing exchanges in the world over the past decade. With 10% of the world's proven oil reserves and 15% of its gas reserves, Iran is considered an energy superpower. A unique feature of Iran's economy is the presence of large religious foundations called boniads, whose combined budgets represent more than 30% of central government spending. Price controls and subsidies, particularly on food and energy, are heavily prominent in the economy. Contraband, administrative controls, widespread corruption, and other restrictive factors undermine private sector-led growth. The government's 20-year vision, as of 2020, involves market-based reforms reflected in the government's, with a 5-year development plan from 2016 to 2021, focusing on a resilient economy and progress in science and technology. Most of the country's exports are oil and gas, accounting for a majority of government revenue in 2010. However, in March 2022, the Iranian parliament under new President Ebrahim Raisi decided to eliminate a major subsidy for importing food, medicines, and animal feed, valued at $15 billion in 2021. Also in March 2022, 20 billion tons of basic goods exports from Russia, including vegetable oil, wheat, barley, and corn, were agreed. Iran's educated population, high human development, constrained economy, and insufficient foreign and domestic investment prompted an increasing number of Iranians to seek overseas employment, resulting in a significant brain drain. However, in 2015, Iran and the P5+1 reached a deal on the nuclear program which removed most international sanctions. Consequently, for a short period, the tourism industry was significantly improved and the inflation of the country was decreased. Citation needed, though U.S. withdrawal from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action in 2018 hindered the growth of the economy again and increased inflation. In the early 21st century, the service sector was the country's largest, followed by industry, mining and manufacturing, and agriculture. In 2008, GDP was estimated at $382.3 billion, or $5,470 per capita. In 2010, the nominal GDP was projected to double in the next 5 years. However, real GDP growth was expected to average 2.2% a year in 2012 to 2016, insufficient to reduce the unemployment rate. Furthermore, international sanctions have damaged the economy by reducing oil exports by half before recovering in 2016. Iran is an energy superpower and the petroleum industry in Iran plays an important part in it. In 2004, Iran produced 5.1% of the world's total crude oil, 3.9 million barrels per day, which generated revenues of $25 billion to $30 billion and was the country's primary source of foreign currency. At 2006 levels of production, oil proceeds represented about 18.7% of gross domestic product. However, the importance of the hydrocarbon sector to Iran's economy has been far greater. The oil and gas industry has been the engine of economic growth, directly affecting public development projects, the government's annual budget, and most foreign exchange sources. In 2009, the sector accounted for 60% of total government revenues and 80% of the total annual value of both exports and foreign currency earnings. Oil and gas revenues are affected by the value of crude oil on the international market. It has been estimated that at the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, quota level, December 2004, a $1 change in the price of crude oil on the international market would alter Iran's oil revenues by $1 billion. In 2012, Iran, which exported around 1.5 million barrels of crude oil a day, was the second largest exporter among the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. In the same year, officials in Iran estimated that Iran's annual oil and gas revenues could reach $250 billion by 2015. However, the industry was disrupted by an international embargo from July 2012 through January 2016. Iran plans to invest a total of $500 billion in the oil sector before 2025. Agriculture contributes 9.5% to the gross domestic product and employs 17% of the labor force. About 9% of Iran's land is arable, with the main food-producing areas located in the Caspian region and in northwestern valleys. Some northern and western areas support rain-fed agriculture, while others require irrigation. 191. Primitive farming methods, overworked and under-fertilized soil, poor seed and water scarcity are the principal obstacles to increased production. About one-third of total cultivated land is irrigated. Construction of multipurpose dams and reservoirs along rivers in the Zagros and Alborz mountains have increased the amount of water available for irrigation. Agricultural production is increasing as a result of modernization, mechanization, improvements to crops and livestock, as well as land redistribution programs. Wheat, the most important crop, is grown mainly in the west and northwest. Rice is the major crop in the Caspian region. Other crops include barley, corn, cotton, sugar beets, tea, hemp, tobacco, fruits, potatoes, legumes, beans and lentils, vegetables, fodder plants, alfalfa and clover, almonds, walnuts and spices including cumin and sumac. Iran is the world's largest producer of saffron, pistachios, honey, berberis and berries, and the second largest date producer. Meat and dairy products include lamb, goat meat, beef, poultry, milk, eggs, butter, and cheese. Large-scale factory manufacturing began in the 1920s. During the Iran-Iraq War, Iraq bombed many of Iran's petrochemical plants, damaging the large oil refinery at Abadan, bringing production to a halt. Reconstruction began in 1988 and production resumed in 1993. In spite of the war, many small factories sprang up to produce import substitution goods and materials needed by the military. Iran's major manufactured products are petrochemicals, steel, and copper products. Other important manufacturers include automobiles, home and electric appliances, telecommunications equipment, cement, and industrial machinery. Iran operates the largest operational population of industrial robots in West Asia. Other products include paper, rubber products, processed foods, leather products, and pharmaceuticals. In 2000, textile mills, using domestic cotton and wool such as Tehran Patu and Iran Terme, employed around 400,000 people around Tehran, Isfahan, and along the Caspian coast. 13 public and privately owned automakers within Iran, led by Iran Khodro and Saipa, that accounted for 94% of domestic production. Other car manufacturers, such as the Baumann Group, Kerman Motors, Kish Khodro, Ran Iran, Tractor Satsi, Shahab Khodro, and others accounted for the remaining 6%. These automakers produce a wide range of vehicles including motorbikes, passenger cars such as Saipa's Tiba, vans, mini trucks, medium-sized trucks, heavy trucks, minibuses, large buses, and other heavy automobiles used for commercial and private activities in the country. The International Organization of Motor Vehicle Manufacturers, OICA, has recently issued a report of top world automakers which puts Iran on the 16th place. According to the OICA report, Iran produced over 1.188 million vehicles in 2023, standing on the 16th place of world ranking of auto producers. Between 2015 and 2019, International Institute for Strategic Studies estimated Iran annually spent 4% to 5%, or $18 billion to $22 billion of its gross domestic product, GDP, on defense. Defense spending was around $18.4 billion in 2019. The country's defense industry manufactures many types of arms and equipment. Since 1992, Iran's Defense Industries Organization, DIO, has produced its own tanks, armored personnel carriers, guided missiles, radar systems, guided missile destroyers, military vessels, submarines, UAV drone, and fighter planes. Iran exported weapons to 57 countries, including NATO members. It has also developed a sophisticated mobile air defense system dubbed as Bayvar 373. Iran increased its military spending by 11%, making it the 14th largest military spender last year. It was the first time in 2 decades that Iran ranked among the top 15 military spenders. In 2019, the country was the second largest world producer of gypsum, the 8th largest world producer of molybdenum, the world's 8th largest producer of antimony, the 11th largest world producer of iron ore, the 18th largest world producer of sulfur, in addition to being the 21st largest worldwide producer of salt. It was the 13th largest producer in the world of uranium in 2018. Since the mid-1990s, Iran has increased its economic cooperation with other developing countries in South-South integration, including Syria, India, China, South Africa, Cuba, and Venezuela. Iran's trade with India passed $13 billion in 2007, an 80% increase within a year. Iran is expanding its trade ties with Turkey and Pakistan and shares with its partners the common objective to create a common market in West and Central Asia through ECO. Since 2003, Iran has increased investment in neighboring countries such as Iraq and Afghanistan. In Dubai, UAE, it is estimated that Iranian expatriates handle over 20% of its domestic economy and account for an equal proportion of its population. Migrant Iranian workers abroad remitted less than $2 billion home in 2006. Between 2005 and 2009, trade between Dubai and Iran tripled to $12 billion. Money invested in the local real estate market and import-export businesses, collectively known as the bazaar, and geared towards providing Iran and other countries with required consumer goods. It is estimated that 1/3 of Iran's imported goods and exports are delivered through the black market, underground economy, and illegal jetties, thus damaging the economy. Iranian firms have developed energy, pipelines, irrigation, dams, and power generation in different countries. Iran is a founding member of OPEC and the Organization of Gas Exporting Countries. Petroleum constitutes 56% of Iran's exports with a value of $60.2 billion in 2018. In March 2018, Iran had banned dollar in trade. In July 2018, France, Germany, and the UK agreed to continue trade with Iran without using dollar as a medium of exchange. Foreign investors concentrated their activities in the energy, vehicle manufacture, copper mining, construction, utilities, petrochemicals, clothing, food and beverages, telecom, and pharmaceutical sectors. Iran is a member of the World Bank's Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. In 2006, the combined net worth of Iranian citizens abroad was about $1.3 trillion. According to the head of the Organization for Investment, Economic and Technical Assistance of Iran, in 2008 Iran ranked 142 among 181 countries in working conditions. Iran stands at number 96 in terms of business startups, 165 in obtaining permits, 147 in employment, 147 in asset registration, 84 in obtaining credit, 164 in legal support for investments, 104 in tax payments, 142 in overseas trade, 56 in contract feasibility, and 107 in bankruptcy. Firms from over 50 countries invested in Iran between 1992 and 2008, with Asia and Europe the largest participants as shown. After the Iranian Revolution in 1979, the United States ended its economic and diplomatic ties with Iran, banned Iranian oil imports, and froze approximately $11 billion of its assets. In 1996, the U.S. government passed the Iran and Libya Sanctions Act, which prohibits U.S. and non-U.S. companies from investing and trading with Iran in amounts of more than $20 million annually. Since 2000, exceptions to this restriction have been made for items including pharmaceuticals and medical equipment. Iran's nuclear program has been the subject of contention with the West since 2006 over suspicions of its intentions. The UN Security Council imposed sanctions against select companies linked to the nuclear program, thus furthering the country's economic isolation. The economic effects of sanctions have been severe. Sanctions notably bar nuclear, missile, and many military exports to Iran and target investments in oil, gas, and petrochemicals, exports of refined petroleum products, as well as the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, banks, insurance, financial transactions, and shipping. In 2012, the European Union tightened its own sanctions by joining the three-decade-old U.S. oil embargo against Iran. In 2015, Iran and the P5+1 reached a deal on the nuclear program that will remove the main sanctions by early 2016. Even though Iran can trade in its own currency, some problems subsist, mainly due to the fact that it cannot transact in U.S. dollars freely. Given its large reserves of oil and gas, the Iranian rial could become a world reserve currency if parity is established with oil and gas. In 2018, the United States government unilaterally withdrew from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action (JCPOA) agreement and reimposed its sanctions on Iran's oil sales, petrochemicals, shipping, metals trading, and banking transactions. According to U.S. Under-Secretary of State William J. Burns, Iran may be losing as much as $60 billion annually in energy investment. Sanctions are making imports 24% more costly on average. In addition, the latest round of sanctions could cost Iran annually $50 billion in lost oil revenues. Iran is increasingly using barter trade because its access to the international dollar payment system has been denied. According to Iranian officials, large-scale withdrawal by international companies represents an opportunity for domestic companies to replace them. In January 2019, President Hassan Rouhani blamed the U.S. for Iran's declining economy. Following the U.S. pullout from an international nuclear deal with Iran and reimposed sanctions, Iran faced the toughest economic situation in 40 years. According to Majlis, this has caused damages estimated between $150 and $200 billion to the Iranian economy.